Hari Om. Hari Om. Namaskara. Where we left last was we were trying to understand the ontology as defined in Madhvacharya's Tattvasamkhyana. So we will continue with that. There were some questions that I had asked, and we were exploring the answers for those. Let me share my screen. We will go to one more topic today, one more important thing today, which Srinidhi touched upon yesterday. Okay. But anyway, so since he touched that thing, I need to continue with that. I will, it is also mentioned in Tattvaviveka. The slides are not ready for that particular part yet. Okay. I will make some changes and I will add the slides onto the Google Classroom. You should be able to read those for better or more clarity. With that, let me share my screen and continue with what we had talked about. So broadly speaking, we said tattva, that is tattva is of two types, swatantra and paratantra. You're able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So paratantra, and anything that is only swatantra has only one element there, which is Vishnu, and tattva means real. Okay, we looked at some of these charts last time, how dukkha sprushta, which is, which means touched by misery, has two things. Dukkha asprushta has only one element, which is Lakshmi over there. Now dukkha sprushta again has mukta and amukta, which means they are already liberated and not yet liberated. And among the not yet liberated, there are people who will get liberated, who are eligible to get liberated, and there are people who are not. So we looked at all of them last time. So among the people who will get liberated, Mukti Yogya, there you again have these classes there also. Devarshi Pitrupa Naraha. Okay, iti Mukti Yogyastu Panchadaha. So there are 5 types there also. Okay, and after that we said Mukti Ayogya. Okay, I should have put this thing. There is a difference in saying Amukti Yogya versus Mukti Ayogya. That's a more technical difference, but essentially it means the same thing. Here, remember again, there are 2 different types of what you call as Mukti. Mukti means liberation. Okay, you can have Mukti from jail also. Okay, Nigada Bandhanat is also one, this one, right? You can get liberation from jail also. You can get liberation from your sins. Papad Muktihi. Okay, you can get liberation from anything that is basically binding you. Okay, so here when we are talking about Mukti, it means dukkha. Dukkha and samsara is basically what is where we are seeking the Mukti here from. But the larger definition of Mukti is what I had told from Bhagavata, which is, Anyatha Rupam Hitva Swarupena Vyavasthitihi. If something is there, to discard what it is not and truly become what it truly is, to become or to manifest what truly is, or to stay in its own form, that is Mukti. So right now the Jiva has many other coverings. Okay, the Jiva has avidya, kama, karma, and all these different types of bodies are there. Okay, we will talk about those things when we go to the Mahabharata Tatpara in India in the next session. So all these things are binding the Jiva, and the Jiva will basically respond or react or conduct himself or herself based on not just his or her own Swarupa, but also based on these other influences. So now Mukti is to basically discard all those influences and to stay in oneself. Now that kind of Mukti is available even to Tamo Yogyas. When they go to Andha Tamas, right? When they go to this blinding darkness, that is the exact translation. What happens then? They would, they stay in their own Swarupa. Basically, they also don't have any external attachments at that time. even the Tamo Yogya Jivas. Okay, so that is not the type of mukti that we are talking about here. The mukti that we spoke of here is the Anandamaya Mukti, which is, basically Dukkha Asprushta, okay, which is being untouched by the by misery or pain or sadness and that kind of stuff. Okay, so then we also looked at Achetana. We said Veda and Akasha and Varnas are Nitya, and in fact, this part is explicitly told in Tattvaviveka. So as I told in the beginning, there are two granthas of Acharya. One which is called Tattvasamkhyana, another one which is called Tattvaviveka. Okay. So Tattvaviveka is considered slightly, the next step kind of thing in understanding Acharya's ontology. We will cover that part today only. But most of these parts are common there. Okay. I will help you with the small comparison after this one. Somebody is waiting. Okay. So now there is Achetana. We said Achetana is also of three types. Nitya, which is eternal, and we talked about Veda, Akasha, Avyakrita Akasha being there, and Varna, which is, the phoneme, Gni, that kind of stuff, right? E, whatever vowels and consonants that we speak, those are phonemes. Those are eternal, and what do you call Akasha, Avyakrita Akasha, the space in which all of this is happening, all these events are happening, that is also considered Nitya, eternal, basically. Then Anitya is the next one. Next, we will show in the next slide. Nitya is basically, there are three types of Nitya Anitya, depending on, from one perspective they are Nitya, in another perspective they are Anitya. So Purana is Nitya in the sense of, their meanings that contain Arthataha, right? They are permanent, they are eternal, because they depict the truth. And from the word wise, they are Anitya. So contrast this with the Veda, where which is Nitya, both word wise and meaning wise. Okay. So Kala is time. So time, the whole is Nitya, but each individual constituent, right, is Anitya. Somebody has joined again. Okay. So now, and Prakriti is also the same thing. Prakriti is matter. Okay. This is what we had seen last time. And within the Anitya, right, you have the evolutes before or staying outside the Brahmanda and within the Brahmanda. So evolutes are, basically these are the different tattvas that are formed from Achetana. Okay, Mahat Tattva, which again condenses or, precipitates to form the Ahankara Tattva. Ahankara Tattva precipitates to form the Buddhi, which precipitates to form the Manas. Actually, Buddhi and Manas are facets of the same thing. Okay. And then you have the 10 Indriyas. So all our Indriyas, right? So there are three stages of these Indriyas also. They exist in a subtle form in Mula Prakriti at all times. Okay. So that is why this Prakriti was there here. Whatever you see here in this Prakriti that includes these Indriyas in the very subtle form, but you cannot transact using them. Okay. You cannot have any interactions with them. You cannot say, he has Ghanindriya or, this person, that is not possible at that stage. So then when the evolution happens, this evolution, I'm using the word of evolution in a very loose sense here. Basically, it is that, the Mula Prakriti is there, right? I think, I'm not sure if all of you have an idea of how the creation process happens, but let me take a couple of minutes to explain that thing. So Pralaya is when these three, Prakriti has three, forms or, three parts to it. One is Sattva and Rajas and Tamas. So they are all in a balance in Pralaya. Okay, they are all in balance. They don't, they don't interact with each other or whatever it is. I mean, very loosely speaking, again, there is a little more detail, which I am intentionally avoiding. And then what does Lord do? He will basically come and he'll start disturbing that equilibrium. Okay. and then he will start mixing them in various proportions. So when he does that mixing up with various proportions, he basically evolves one form, one tattva from another tattva. The first tattva that is out there is the avyakta tattva, which is, it is not created, it is Lakshmi herself. Lakshmi's, it is presided by Lakshmi, and it is the avyakta tattva. Okay. Now from there, he condenses and then brings out Mahat tattva, and then Ahankara tattva. Mahat tattva is the body of Brahmadeva. Okay. He is here everywhere. Chaturmukha Brahma is also everywhere. It is not just Vishnu. Chaturmukha Brahma is also here. Okay. And whoever has this Mahat Tattva, basically they will be Ati Sukshma. You cannot do anything. I mean, you cannot know them. And it is also a covering. So then Mahat Tattva is there. Please notice my hands. Basically, I am trying to show how this thing forms. Okay. So it is like, one Tattva, another Tattva, and then it comes Brahmanda. So you have these layers of Tattvas around the Brahmanda. Okay. It is called Avarana. That layer of tattva around the Brahmanda is called Avarana. Okay. That Avarana is again of that particular tattva. So Ahankara tattva is presided by Garuda Sesha Rudra. Okay. Then within that Ahankara tattva, there are three types of Ahankara tattva again. Vaikarika and, Taijasa, and there is Tamasa Ahankara tattva. So each of them go into forming different parts of this Brahmanda. Okay. For example, Vaikarika Tattva goes to become the Indriyas. Okay. Taijasa Tattva becomes the bodies of the Devatas. So Taijaso vai Deva, Tejah vai Deva. So their body is itself Tejas. Okay. And but these are grosser forms than what was there before. Mahatattva is the subtlest. Okay. Ahankara Tattva is slightly grosser than Mahatattva, but not as gross as the next one, which is. There are three types of Ahankara Tattva, but it is an evolute of Ahankara Tattva. Then comes Buddhi and Manas. Buddhi is Buddhi means, Buddhi is also a Tattva. Okay. And not just our buddhi and whatever we use in common parlance. It is not just that. Buddhi means basically the capability to discriminate between good and bad and that kind of stuff. Viveka is called buddhi. That is directed by buddhi. Okay. And manas is basically mind. It is not same as brain. I think we talked about that last time also. Mind is manas. The position of manas, people say, is in the heart. So it is not really same as the brain, and in fact, the functions of brain that science talks about, or that whatever we learn in contemporary science, is different from whatever is there in manas, except for the fact that, except for one thing, which is that brain is the place where all these signals accumulate and then processing happens. And then you say, this is a pot or this is a laptop. Same thing applies here also. Okay, Manas also is a place where such judgment happens. So mostly brain and Manas are different except for this capability. The Manas is also one of the tattvas that comes out there. Okay, this is not same as this Manas, but this Manas is formed from that Manas, whatever we have. Okay, whatever we have here. The Manas is ruled by Indra, Kama, Chandra. There are many devatas that come over there. Okay. Their bodies are also made of that tattva. That is another part. So the Lord is not just making the tattva, but he is also creating the tattva abhimani devata at the same time. Okay, when he is creating them. So he is creating Brahma and his Sharira at the same time. He is creating Rudra and his Sharira at the same time. Okay, but remember, all of these things are anitya. Okay, when the Maha Brahma Kalpa, when it ends, when this Brahma Kalpa ends, all of these things are dissolved. Okay. When we go to Bhagavata Tatparya Nirnaya, right, we will have more understanding of these things. It is a more complex thing. So from the Manas, basically you get the Indriyas. Then they again are further condensed, or they are precipitated is more the right word. Basically, again, there is some amount of mixing that happens and you get the 5 Tanmatra. Tanmatra is basically sparsha, rupa, rasa, gandha, and shabda. This Tanmatra, basically, in our regular parlance, we talk about them as qualities. Correct? Basically, you say there is rasa, there is a taste, there is smell, all these things we will say. That is all quality. But the ones that are spoken here, Tanmatra, they are actual substances. They are dravya, okay? With the same name. But they are the carriers of those properties. They are predominant carriers of those properties. So from these Tanmatras, and then there are the Bhuta Sukshmas. Bhuta is Panchabhuta, okay? Panchabhuta also has its subtler form called, Prithvi is Bhuta Sukshma, Akasha Bhuta Sukshma, and so on and so forth. Those things, so there is Bhuta Sukshma, which is kind of eternal, but they get upachaya, they get, loaded with all these other elements, and then they become Panchabhuta. Okay. So from here, it is still subtle only. The final stage after Prithvi Tattva is formed is when the Brahmanda is formed. Brahmanda is, I think, what we call as our universe. Okay. It is not just Earth. It is not just the visible universe. It is the entire universe. And whatever happens within Brahmanda and internally, you can transact with them. That is why it is called samsrushta, well evolved. That is the meaning of well created, or not so well created. Created is not the right word. Well evolved and not well evolved. So this is the anitya part. Okay. Then we looked at these questions. What does tattva mean? Okay. So I had clarified that tattva means anaropitam tattvam. Anything that is not superimposed is tattva. Okay. Anything which is abadhitam is tattva. Anything that is not corrected or sublated. The rope snake example, if you take, there is the snake gets sublated. It gets corrected. You will, after you come out of that illusion, you will say that snake was never there, even when I was seeing that. Okay. We also said that, so the question that I didn't put here, but I would like you to answer now is, why can't we say there is no tattva at all in this world? Any answers there? Srinidhi. One chat, we will look at it later. You can ask your questions directly, actually, if it is not too much of this one. But can you give any reasons as to why we have to accept that, there are many tattvas, there are two types of tattvas within them? Why can't we say there is, as Buddhism or any of them say, they say there is nothing like real tattva out there. Why can't we take that position? Why are we saying there is tattva, there is real, something is real? And
because we are experiencing it, and we are seeing the world, experiencing it.
So the way to put it is, as we were saying here, right? Epistemology, right? Before you take a position, you need to know what source of knowledge gives you that knowledge. Okay. So to take a position, there is no tattva, right? You need to have some pramana which is telling you that thing. There is no pramana. Okay. From Srinidhi's thing, you should have noticed this. There is no pramana that tells you that there is no tattva, number one. More importantly, there is a blocker. There is pramana badha. What is that pramana badha? Pratyaksha pramana badha. See, whatever you just said, right? I am telling you the same thing, but in more technical terms, so that you it is not just terminology there. Conceptually, you understand that any tenet, any prameya is established based on a pramana. If there is no pramana, there is no prameya. That prameya is questionable. For example, I was talking to some kids in the Purnapramati school here, okay? They were asking me about this subconscious and, concepts like E, IT. Okay, these are very prevalent concepts today. Okay, or leave them for the moment. If you go to Buddhists, they will talk about sphota in a totally different field, which is about, how a meaning of a sentence is understood. They basically say that individual components of that sentence, it leads to someone Big Bang kind of thing, okay? And then you get one unitary meaning in your head. So all these theories are there, okay? Or if you take physics, right? In today's world, there are some people who say time is unreal, okay? So any of these tattva, any of them to become tattva, to become real, you need a pramana. That pramana should be analyzed, and there should not be any blocker. There should not be any pramana badha. So both these conditions need to be acceptable before you establish something as a tattva. Okay? And in case of Buddhism or whatever it is, Buddhism says there is no tattva at all. Advaita says there is only one tattva. Both of them are wrong because there is pramana badha. Okay? So understanding this word, pramana badha, is important. Okay? Then I asked, last time we discussed this one, what does swatantra mean? So we looked at some of the answers then. We said basically, I had clarified that swatantra means, sorry, swatantra means, yeah, go ahead, Smita aure, heli.
ಅದು ಪ್ರಮಾಣ ಬಾಧ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇದಲ್ವಾ ಅತಿವ್ಯಾಪ್ತಿ ಅವ್ಯಾಪ್ತಿ ಆಮೇಲೆ ಇದು
ಇಲ್ಲ ಅವೆಲ್ಲ ಬೇರೆ ಅದು ನೀವು ಹೇಳೋದು ಸಾರಿ ಇಟ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ಯು ಆರ್ ಸೇಯಿಂಗ್ ಈಸ್ ಲಕ್ಷಣ related to a lakshana. If I am trying to define a cow, if I am trying to define, let's say, something, anything for gravity or whatever it is, and I give a definition which not only covers what I am trying to define, but something else also, then it is ativyapti. If I am trying to define something and my definition does not cover all instances of that, then it is avyapti. Okay? Or it doesn't cover any instance of that, then it is asambhavi. That is the meaning of those things. Okay? For example, if I try to define a cow, I say anything that has a dewlap. You know what is a dewlap? Cow has a dewlap here. Okay? If I say anything that has a dewlap is a cow. So the lakshana is anything that has a dewlap. But there are some fish that has dewlap. They also have the same, flapping skin over here between the neck and their body. That is also dewlap only. So fish also has dewlap. So that's why I have to then, so my lakshana then is an avyapti. It is ativyapti because I was intending to define cow, but now my definition covers not just cow, but also some other types of fish. Okay, that is different here. That is not what we are trying to say here.
Okay.
What we are trying to do, it can go, we'll go into Srinidhi will cover Lakshana Shastra later also. Okay.
Okay.
But what we are trying to understand is what does swatantra mean? So we said Swarupa, Pramiti, Pravritti. These are the three types of existence. Very loosely put again there. Three types of how an object is seen, how an object is present. An object is present by its swarupa. We say, for example, this laptop is there. Or if you go to one other aspect of it, how, for example, I have pramiti. Pramiti means knowledge. So, I know this much. My senior knows much more. Paramatma knows infinite everything. So on and so forth. That is pramiti. Pravritti means volitive action. Okay. Basically, jnana purvaka kriya. I want to, for example, lift this thing. On the other hand, this fan, when I switch on the switch, when I put on the switch, it also rotates. There is action there also. But that action does not qualify to be called kriya because it is not jnana purvaka kriya. That is not volitive action. That is not pravritti. So where for an object, any of these three things, there is a dependence on another, there is a dependence on something else, then it is aswatantra. Okay? And where for any of these three things, for all of these three things, Swarupa Pramiti Pravritti. There is no dependence on another. That entity is called Swatantra. So Vishnu does not depend on anybody to be Vishnu, to be himself. On the other hand, Lakshmi needs Vishnu's anugraha every moment to be even present, to be able to cognize things and to be able to do her, her acts as Prakriti Abhimani Devata. So our dependence on Vishnu is so fundamental. Okay. If you take the dependence that a just born child has on the mother, it is very core, it is very strong dependence, but it is not as fundamental as this. A child, just born child can live even without the mother. Okay, there are many cases of, where mother is not there. Okay, so there we see lots of dependencies between amongst ourselves. Okay, for example, me to do this conversation with you, this laptop is needed, right? So we'll see all sorts of dependence in our worldly life, right? Or day-to-day activities, but none of them are as core as this dependence. This dependence is like to exist. Vishnu needs to say, yeah, let him exist, or let this thing exist. It is that fundamental. I mean, just imagine the kind of love you will have for Vishnu the moment you understand or you're able to internalize this. Okay, so the Bhagavata, and how is Swatantratva known? How will you identify who is Swatantra? There are some more questions around that. Okay, we will come to this. We had told that Swatantratva is known only through Agama. Okay, for example, and how is Aswatantratva known? Can you tell me how is Aswatantratva known? How do you know that you are not dependent? You are not independent? Through your own experience. It is self-evident. Correct? How do you know that another person is not Aswatantra? For example, I put Rama in front of you and I put myself also with him. He is crying, I am also crying. Okay? So you will say that I am Aswatantra. Will you say he is also Aswatantra? Why not?
Because from Shastra we know that he is Swatantra.
He is?
Swatantra.
Because Agama will tell what he is and Pratyaksha will tell what it means. See, for me, crying implies sadness is applicable to non-God entities. God is known through Agama. Agama tells that Rama, Krishna and all of these avatars of God are there. Agama also tells them that they are not subject to flaws. And all these avatars of God are also eternal. Okay, we will come to this in Mahabharata Nirnaya. Many of these concepts may be new to non-Madhvas. Okay, I mean, they think that there is Lord, the formless Lord who took a form, who took one avatar and then he did his work. There is no new form that the Lord has acquired. Okay, all forms are eternal. And we will come to all of these concepts later. The idea is for Aswatantratva, you should note the other way around now. Now see, the Vishnu can behave as if he is Aswatantra. And he does that in many of his avatars. When he wants to, put a test to the ineligible guys. That is the way to filter out ineligible people. He will say, Hanuma, Sugriva, I need help from your monkey army. Okay, and people will say, look, there are people today also who accept that Rama is, he needed, he took help from monkeys. Because of his karma, he was such a great Vishnu avatar, he downgraded to such a situation wherein he had to take help from monkeys. Or some people say, look, Krishna is such a great warrior. Okay, he is the avatar of Vishnu. What happened at the end? One hunter came and killed him with one arrow to his feet. So he can display, Vishnu will display all sorts of things, okay, all sorts of flaws in him. But based on Agama, you should say, that's a drama. Okay, That is because that is what Agama itself tells you. Agama is scripture. Okay. We'll come to, so this is an important point. If it is Swatantra Tattva, you cannot, rather what I wanted to point out is, you cannot deem, you cannot assess another entity to be Aswatantra based on just your own perception. You have to check with Agama also, and only if the Agama does not deem that person to be Vishnu, then you say, then you go and apply your regular rules. If that person is crying, it means that person is in pain. But if that person is Rama, then he doesn't have any pain. He is just, putting some tears out. That's all. Okay. So we need to understand like that. Let's ask some more questions. Why should there be only one Swatantra Tattva? Why not zero? Or why not more than one? Why not? Why can't we say that, why can't be little more secular, right? And then say Brahma and Shiva are also Swatantra. Any answer?
If there's more than one, then how will it be Swatantra? Swatantra itself will mean that there can be only one point where all this power exists. No, this because then there'll be a clash of this thing. No? If there are 2 or 3 points where it has to happen, then how they will be?
Let's accept that they are all good friends, and they don't naturally they don't have a clash. Naturally, without any adjustments, they do not have a clash. Yeah, go ahead.
So
Then whose Icha will prevail over the other?
1 minute, there is a point here. You need to speak a little louder. Yeah, go ahead.
No, whose Icha will prevail over the other?
Okay.
Whose Icha? Because if
Whose Icha will prevail over the other? Very good.
yes.
Got it. I know there is another answer within the room here. So.
Oh.
And one person has some qualities and the other person has. So like Swatantra means you're supposed to have infinite qualities, no? Because your lack of, it can't be boundary for you. So
we will come to that. Good. Good. So it is essentially what you people, both of you said. Okay. Swatantra by default, right, can be only one. Okay. First of all, why can't we accept that there is no Swatantra Tattva at all? All of us are partially dependent on you. Can we accept that? Let's see, for example, I have some partial somebody. Okay. We have some partial strengths. All of us have partial dependencies and partial independence also, right? Why can't we say that way? See, for example, I can, we asked this question also. Can there be partial Swatantratva? I gave an answer last time. Can somebody repeat that? Can somebody think of that one? Why can't you say that I am partially Swatantra? Or you yourself are partially Swatantra?
The word will become invalid because Swatantra and then saying partial, they both clash with each other.
Okay, that is one thing. How do you know you are not Swatantra? Okay, let me ask like that. But see, we all have, see, for example, I want to lift this thing, I am able to lift this one, right? That much Swatantra I have, no? So you cannot, dismiss facts of experience also. Correct? So why are you saying it is not partial Swatantra?
No, because even for that hand to move, there are so many other factors coming into play. We know that.
And all of those factors are in my control.
No, we didn't choose this body that we came in, no? That itself is not under our control.
Very good. One point is that.
Yeah, if you're sick also, you won't be able to.
If I'm sick also, I am not be able to lift my hand.
If you can really control it, then.
What else?
We are able to raise the hand, but we are not able to raise the building. That's what you gave the example last time.
I gave one more thing. I gave one more thing as to what you cannot do, which you should have been able to do. See, building example is because I have limited strength. Okay. Limited is the word. I am not saying I have infinite strength. I am saying partial is there. But even for partial Swatantra, I do not have. There is one very, very innermost, intimate experience, which is the proof that you are not even partial Swatantra. What is that?
Asamarthya.
You could have controlled your own happiness.
Yadinamana tasya vashe sakalam kathamevatu nitya sukham na bhavet. That is the word, a line that Acharya tells in Dwara Stotra. If nothing were in his control, or if I am not in his control, of any person is not in his control, okay, or is in his own control, how can you say that I am not having nitya sukha? See, that is a minimum thing about Swatantra, right? I mean, strength may be limited, knowledge may be limited, and all those things. But if I have control over myself, I should have control over myself, right? Strength and all these things relate to other objects. You know, whether it is this key or whether it is building, it is related to other objects. But Ananda, my own Sukha, is internal to me. I can't control even that much. So that experience of lack of continuous bliss is a proof of our not having even partial Swatantra. Okay? 4 and 6 I will combine here, okay? How is it known that Vishnu alone is Swatantra? Now we will come to the secularity question. All you Madhvas and Vaishnavas are like this. You highlight Vishnu, Shaivas highlight Shiva, Shaktas highlight Shiva, Shakti. All of them are in one form or the other, they are all talking about the same person, the same God only. Just that the names are different. Okay? How do you know Vishnu alone is Swatantra? Why not others?
Because he's the one who is there even during Pralaya.
So what? So how is that related to Vishnu alone being Swatantra? And how do you know that part also? That Vishnu alone is there. There are places where Shiva is mentioned. Shiva is also supposed to be at the last. Pashupati. He is the only one who stays towards the end of everything. He is the Samhara Karanaka, right?
But during Pralaya only.
No, look at what is the Shiva's role according to the general populace. Samhara Karana only, right? Brahma is the creator, Vishnu is the sustainer, Shiva is the destroyer. So who stays in Pralaya? Shiva?
Dosha Dura, ne?
Sorry?
Dosha Dura. He doesn't have any dosha.
No, but question is, how do you know Vishnu alone is Swatantra? His dosha dura is fine. Agama says so. So let me look at the consolidated answers. Okay, there is some more point there which I did not. This is what we have come to this session actually. So far we were just recapitulate, right? What does tattvam mean? Anaropitam tattvam. Okay, non-superimposed is real. Abhajitam tattvam. This is non-corrected or correctable. Abadhyam. Okay, is also real. So basically, if let's say I see an illusion, I see a snake instead of a rope, and then what has happened? I just ran away from there. So that perception or that cognition never got corrected. Does that make that snake real? No. So it is not corrected, but it is correctable. It is badhyam. Therefore, it is not real. Okay, that is the answer here. What does Swatantra mean? Swarupa, Pramiti, Pravritti, Para Anapeksham. For these three types of Satta Traividya, you have dependence on another. Then it is, you do not have any, you don't need anybody else. Then it is Swatantra. Okay. Another basic example is, another definition, simpler one is Svavashatvam, being in one's own control. We are all not Svavasha. That is what the example of the argument of Nitya Sukha, right? Why can't you be eternally be happy? Shows that we are not in our own control. We are not Svavasha. Okay. Another thing that Acharya tells in Mahabharata Tatparnaya is Nissima Shaktirhi Yato Swatantraha. So there are different definitions that Acharya gives, but he has given that in the context of in a different context there. Nissima Shaktirhi Yato Swatantra. Swatantra by default implies infinite strength, okay, or infinite potential. That is the meaning of Swatantra. And the Swatantratva, we can point out that an XYZ is Swatantra only based on Agama. We cannot base it on, see, for example, let's say XYZ is able to, let's say you get one warrior in front of you, Arjuna, right? He is able to create one big world, or Indra is there. He is able to create one big world in front of you. Okay? Will you accept him as God? Okay, this is an important question when you are dealing with atheists. What is a plausible proof of God's existence? They do not have clarity on that themselves. Will they accept, many of them will say, miracle is enough. But, for example, if I am able to, sprout a, a tree from a seed in my hand. Madhvacharya has done that. He takes one seed and then he recites the Oshadhi Sukta, and then one tree is in there in front of him. A tree is formed just there, and then he plants it there, and then he moves on. This is basically a proof that he gives as to why Veda is a pramana. So if people do this kind of miracles, will they become Swatantra? Can you call them Swatantra is a question. Answers? No, that is one thing. We get fooled as we are gullible is one part. But my question here is more on how will you determine whether he is Swatantra or not Swatantra? He did one miracle in front of you. Okay? Will you take that as Swatantra? Huh? Not? Not enough. Just creating. One miracle is not there. Let's say he will do many miracles. Raghavendra Swami is there. Some people will take even Sai Baba as also a miracle. There are many miracle providers in the world today. Okay. So will you take miracles as proof of Swatantra is the question. Why not? So let's ditch Agama and let's take these miracles as proof of Swatantra. Can you say that? Why not?
What if they did some sort of magic that's bad?
So let's take many instances, let's examine all of them, and let's say we conclude that all of those instances are true. There was no deceit or deception involved over there. It was not regular magic. They are pure miracle. If a person does 10 miracles or 1,000 miracles, will you accept that person as Swatantra?
The three conditions have to be satisfied, no?
Which three conditions?
Pramiti, Swarupa,
and how will you determine that is the question here? See, this is important because many people outside of our tradition, they go, and why even our own selves, right? We will go, for example, to Santoshi Ma Vratam and all those things. Okay, people have done that. And, when that movie came, they started doing Santoshi Ma. And later, Ayyappa now has become very this thing. And now with the new movies that have come there, some other puja will be there. How do you determine who is Swatantra? Very important. Do miracles prove Swatantra? Answer is
Only through Agama only we can know that, no?
The question is why not? Why not take the other way around? Ditch Agama, discard it. Why not?
Because they already.
So what is the answer to that? Why can't we say, right, that these miracles are the real proof? Agama is old, invalid. Let's discard them. Why can't we say that?
I think Acharya is not independent of God. He is still dependent on God.
Who?
Madhvacharya Madi, he was able to achieve that.
No, not just Acharya. Okay.
Okay.
Take Sai Baba, for example. Okay, he has done many miracles. Okay, I am not talking about where people were there is a sleight of hand kind of thing. There is you doubt whether they truly brought something when he gave ash and all those things. No, you are talking about real miracles. You prayed to X and that person's cancer is gone. Real issues. Okay, you prayed to Y. You got a lottery that ensured that you and your family will live forever for another 10, 20, whatever time. There are real solid issues. There are diseases people have. And those diseases will go because of praying to some XYZ.
But are they able to give mukti? Are they able to give mukti? Then
how do you know that? The question is, see.
Doing miracles only doesn't prove that he is.
Why not is the question.
Can they give you jnana that leads to mukti is the question, maybe.
Let's say
Maybe.
you pray for them, let's say you get some jnana, right? All devotees of Sai Baba also have some or the other jnana. They do accept that, all roads lead to the same path. There is one God. They also have some or the other form of jnana. That jnana and your jnana may be in conflict. Point is that they also have some jnana.
But they will not be Nitya Sukhi. No one will be Nitya Sukhi.
That is the point. Super. They cannot guarantee Nitya Sukha for any of them. Super. Epistemologically, okay, when I say epistemologically, as a source of knowledge, okay, only Agama can be there. Why can't these miracles prove? Because you never know the limit with that. People who are better than you, they will show higher capabilities consistently. Just because there is consistent performance of miracles, still does not make that person Swatantra. If that person is able to make you Nitya Sukha, then you can say he is God. But you will not get to know that unless you go to the Agama. That is the answer. I mean, please don't mind if there are worshippers of, non-Madhva deities here. I don't mean to hurt your feelings. But the idea is to have an epistemic clarity. What is the proof of, what is the evidence for Swatantra? Okay. We have many friends. Okay. I come from a software background. There are people who worship many other these things. For example, there is one guy who goes to a Shaiva Siddha doctors. Okay. And then they also talk about the same things there. So Swatantra is known only through Agama. That is the point we wanted to know. Of course, once on Aswatantra, you don't need to go through Agama. That is self-evident. Okay. Then why not 0? Why not 1? Why only? Why not more than 1? Why not Trimurti? All of that is, we have told, logical problem is there. Swatantra by default means, you are Ananta Guna Paripurna. When you say there are two Swatantra entities, there is an implicit, even if there is natural alignment, what it means is that they are limited. They will not by default go into the same zone or domain which is controlled by the other person. So let's take this thing, right? I own this half of the table and another person owns this half of the table. We may be naturally be aligned not to step into each other's parts, but still it means that we are limited. So it is not really, there is a binding condition there. That binding condition implies I am not unbound. It implies that I am not Swatantra. So Swatantra cannot be partial. Okay. Very important point here, right? We have this funda of Datta Swatantra in Madhva Siddhanta. It comes in Harikatamrita Sara. People who study that, they all think that Lord has given Swatantra to do our work. So what truly is, what do they actually mean for that? They assume, in fact, Ramanuja followers, they assume this, okay? But they assume that the first act, there is something called as a first act. We say karma is anadi. They say karma, there is one first act which determines the course of the jiva over this, the next career of the whatever, the Brahma Kalpa and things like that. Okay, till moksha. That first karma is when the God gives Swatantra. Even people who think Datta Swatantra is there, in their heads, what they truly think is that, Vishnu at that point, he gives an opening to that jiva. Okay, now you make a choice. Okay, you make a choice as to whether you want to eat onion garlic or you want to just eat dal chawal. Okay, so and when the jiva is deciding, they think Vishnu has no role. He's silently sitting and then waiting for the jiva to make that decision. That is the assumption that people think they make when they talk about Datta Swatantra. It is wrong. Swatantra can never be given and taken back. All these things, right, given or taken back, it means same problem. They have a boundary. They have a binding. They have a binding limit in time or in space. or in the extent, in the magnitude. Therefore, Datta Swatantra is not to be understood like that. Okay, one commentator on Harikatamrita, he says this thing very clearly. He says, Paramatma keeps some forms of himself in that body, in that entity, to manifest. So if Vayu is saying, he says that Vayu has some 54 points, while Manushya has 2 points, okay, of Swatantra. It means there are 2 forms of God here and 54 forms of God there. Okay, I'm roughly speaking. All forms of God are equally powerful, okay, infinitely potent. But what we are trying to show here is the extent to which activities will be seen, to the extent to which control will be seen in that entity. It is not that, Paramatma gave off something and he will take it back later. No, that is wrong understanding. So please don't get into that wrong thing, okay? If you are studying Bhagavata, Harikatamsara, anywhere else, please correct this notion. Acharya says, Bimba Kriya Yaiva Kriyavan. The way the Bimba does, Pratibimba reacts. Not a single moment is there when the Pratibimba can act without Bimba's approval. Can you say that, your reflection in the mirror will raise its hand when you have not raised your hand? That is not possible. That will be quite eerie, right? If somebody does that, if the reflection is raising the hand and you are like, so every act is through Lord. So there is nothing like giving and taking back. Okay. And therefore it cannot be time bound. Therefore it can be. Yes, somebody raised a hand.
Yeah. And in a pravachana, I had heard once. So the Acharya there, he was saying that, yes, we don't have Swatantra for anything, but we have a little bit of, what do you say, we cannot call it Swatantra, but he says for our Ichcha to manifest, what Sankalpa we do. Sankalpa for not Laukika things, for Jnana Bhakti Vairagya, to that much very minuscule extent, that is what we can do. From there only God has to take us forward, is what he had told. So I just want to know.
See, I will tell you, whatever you say there, right? The question is this, okay? The question is, let's say the Jiva has to take this Sankalpa, okay? I will be a devotee of God, or I will not be a devotee of God, or today I will have not have dinner, or I will have dinner. They have to take some decision. At that infinitesimal moment of time, is God watching or is the God instigating? Instigating under prerana. Is he active then or is he not active then? Is God taking an active role in enabling that jiva to take that decision, or
yes,
he is a silent observer?
Unless he does, we cannot do anything, na? If he is the.
So if that clarity is there, please listen to any number of pravachanas which say this way. Okay, no problem. All I'm trying to say is that many people have this wrong notion that God is, he watches. Even if it is a minuscule amount of moment in time, God sits back and then sees, okay, what is your decision? And he will act accordingly. He may do God may come and enable him to do the act, but that choice is made independent of God is what people think. Or, or based on whatever independence God has given is what they think. Those are wrong notions. At that time also, when you are taking a decision also, God has to enable you, and for your internal desire to come in the form of the decision, he has to act. So his act, his action, his enablement is needed for everything. Okay. If we
and it is it's easy to blame God that, whatever wrong things we do also, no, he only made me do it. It's very easy to say that. And
we will come to blaming part later. It will be a longer discussion. What does blaming and, see, the blaming part goes to, who is responsible for it.
okay.
Right? So we will talk about responsibility later. Okay. In fact, when Pratosha comes, he's going to take next week onwards. It's me and Pratosha who will go for 1 month. After that, we will again change this one. I want to cover 1 month of Mahabharata Tattvavada. Okay.
Okay.
So when he comes, you can ask, these are some of the topics that he will address, kartrutva, jiva kartrutva and all those things. And you can discuss this one in greater detail there. But it's a longer topic, okay? There are very fundamental concepts involved. What do you mean by responsibility? Who is responsible? Okay, is only the person whom you say is independent, you can consider them responsible, or the person who has the desire, do you say is responsible? There are some thoughts that you need to have around that. Okay, some discussions you need to have around that. And then it will become clear as to why we say Jiva is responsible, though not Swatantra. Jiva has Paradhina Kartrutva in our Siddhanta. He is not Swatantra Kartru. He is a Paradhina Kartru. How can Paradhina means dependent, Kartru means independent doer? How can these two be together? That's what is going to be the point of that discussion. And there is a long discussion on this in Bhagavad Gita also, 14th chapter. Shri Jayatirtha has basically, he has done a marvelous job of clarifying what this thing means. Acharya himself has done that in both Gita Bhashya and Gita Tatparya. When you get there, you will have such clarity that you will think, why didn't I study these things, in some 10 decades before or something like that. Okay, anyway, we'll come to that later. But briefly put, the answer is that responsibility belongs to where desire is, and that is Jiva. Lord is like the current that enables this, or the electricity that enables these bulbs and all these things. He is impartial. He does, if there is a 60-watt bulb, or if there is a 200-watt bulb, he is the current that flows through and ensures that they glow to their fullest potential. Okay, through the sadhana. He is not responsible for why they are 60 watt or why it is 200 watt. He is always, he's impartial that way. So the same thing, desires and all these things belong to the Jiva, and he's only manifesting them. He's only manifesting them. Therefore, if I feel like eating pani puri on an Ekadashi, it is my desire, and therefore I am responsible. He may have brought it out, okay, because he's impartial electricity, he's the impartial Shakti out there, but it is my desire. Therefore, I am eligible to be punished or rewarded as the case may be. Okay?
Okay.
How is it known? Sorry, there was a question.
No question. Thank you.
Yeah. How is it known that Vishnu alone is Swatantra? Okay, this is the same thing as the fourth one. We say it is based on proper interpretation of Agama. I have put 3 words there. Okay, all of that are points of contention. How do you know proper? How do you know what is Agama? How do you know interpretation? All these 3 things are contestable. And that is what Vijayananda will talk about when he comes to Brahma Sutras and Upanishads. He will tell you more on those things then. Okay. I will talk about it very briefly when we go to Mahabharata Tatparya Nirnaya. Acharya gives proof there as to why you should take this thing and then move forward. Okay. And it is not as simple as, I will take some portion and then say Vishnu is supreme, and they will take some portion and they will say Shiva is supreme, or, Jesus Christ is supreme, or whatever it is, right? I mean, or Allah is supreme kind of thing, right? It is more involved than that. Okay. With that, let's go to the next one. Aswatantra Tattva. What do Bhava and Abhava mean? Do you remember what Abhava means? Presence of something. Abhava means absence. So I had told, if you take one, let's say there is a room here. Now in that room, I ask for a padartha to be put. Okay. If you have to put something in, then it is Bhava. If you have to take something out, it is Abhava. For example, there is a room here. I want you to put darkness in this room. What will you do? You will take out the light. Therefore, darkness is Abhava. Same thing if I take this room and I say, I want you to put light inside this. So you have to put some source of light there. Okay, this is Bhavadartha. This definition is only for your understanding. It is not technically or it is not logically complete also. Okay. It is basically the given this thing is Prathama Pratipatto Vidhirupaha Bhavaha. Okay, in the first cognition, okay, without when you are not doing any analysis. See, for example, I can say, if I want to put a pot over here, Okay. If I want to put pot in this room here, I will take out ghata bhava. That is a logical problem in whatever I had told earlier. If there is a room here, I say put ghata there. Ghata means pot. What will you do? You will get one pot and put over there. Therefore, you are saying pot is a bhava padartha. I will say I will define it the other way around. I will say take this room here, put ghata there. So I will say take ghata bhava out. Ghata bhava out. Negation of negation. So I will say take ghata bhava out. So you are taking out something to ensure that ghata comes there. So does that make ghata as a abhava padartha? No, that is a logical flaw in the way I had defined it earlier. Okay. It is only to get you the first level of understanding of what bhava and abhava means. What Acharya defines in Madhvacharya is that anything that in the first cognition, when you are not doing this extra analysis, right? Abhava and all those things. In the first cognition, if you cognize something as being there positively, it is there, then it is bhava. If you, in the first cognition, if you take something as not being there, nishedha rupaha, then it is abhava. So that is the meaning he gives. Okay. Now let's look at the other chart here. Okay. We looked at, can you have Chetana abhava is the question. Yeah, so, sorry, somebody raised a hand.
Yeah. When the pot is there in space, can we say that there is abhava of akasha?
Why? You cannot say that, no?
Pot, okay. Pot also has akasha in it.
Pot has, even the boundary, that material of that pot is in space only, no? Space and pot material, they basically, they overlap.
So each atom has akasha in it, right?
Akasha is everywhere.
Okay.
Okay. So now look at this chart, right? Chetana and Achetana are two types of bhava. Abhava, we defined it as pragabhava, pradhamsabhava, sadabhava, right? Can you have, what is the nature of this abhava? Is it jada or is it chetana?
Neither.
That's the point. It is neither. Okay. Otherwise, how can, see, Chetana and Jada, both are bhava padartha. They have bhava rupa dharma. What means is they have real positive, they have qualities. Mass, length, breadth, volume. They have all that kind of stuff there. Abhava doesn't have anything. Okay. So this abhava is neither Chetana nor Achetana. Okay. So that question I had asked, can you have Chetana and Abhava? Can you have Abhava, which is Chaitanyatmaka?
No,
Okay.
not possible.
Yeah. I just want you to, I asked this question so that you think more on these things. That's all, nothing much. Okay. The third one is very, very important. Very important. Okay. Can Chetana become Achetana or vice versa? Let's go back.
No,
to
not possible.
Why not?
No, Chetana is always Chetana.
Why not?
So if they have to become something they're not, then they have to just get desperate.
Can I morph myself into a jada is the question. Can a Chetana become? I'll tell you an example. A lady has given birth to a child. An amoeba has split into two parts. Two amoebae, right? Lady has given birth to this thing. Okay. What became that the child? Part of her body is there. No? Whatever she ate only has come in here. Correct? Well, the mother's, this thing is there in the child. So can't you say that the Chetana has become Achetana here? The mother's, this thing is there, no? In fact, I'll tell you, this is very important. Why? Because our Upanishads give this kind of example to describe how creation happens. Yathornanavihi srujate gruhyate cha. Okay. Yatha purushat lomakeshani bhavanti. Something like that. Tatha aksharat sambhavatiha vishwam. There is one more which I have forgotten. Purnanabhi is a spider. Okay. The way the spider, when it drops, when it spins its web, okay, the web comes out and the spider are separated. And then later it will consume that same thing back. Same thing happens when it comes to with this particular Vishwa and the Paramatma. It comes from him and goes back into him. Paramatma is pure Chetana. You all agree? So isn't Achetana coming out of Chetana? Yatha Urnanabhi Srujate Grihyatecha. Grihnatecha. I'll get to the right verse from the Atharvana Upanishad, or what others call as Mundaka Upanishad. This is there. Yatha Purushat Lomakeshani. The way the hairs come out of a person's head. Okay. Tatha Aksharat Sambhavatiha Vishwam. This entire world comes out from him. So isn't that case of Achetana becoming Chetana? Or take the case of amoeba. Right? It had decided to have an asexual reproduction, and then it became another cell. Isn't it case of Chetana becoming Achetana, or vice versa? Or the Achetana part of the amoeba became the Chetana part. Same thing with respect to a human mother and a child, or any other species also for that matter. What is your answer to that?
No, but we don't know when Jiva entered into that, no?
No, my question is, you are assuming a Jiva entered into it. I'm
Acha.
saying don't assume that. Jiva is created is what let's assume.
No, it's not.
Why? Why do you know? How do you know that Jiva is not created?
Our experience only.
What is that? Experience.
Like yesterday, I was less myself or more myself. Today, I'm some comparison like that. I never felt that.
Therefore?
So, like, there is
part of myself, then
yeah, you can't like.
the mother should feel less
Of?
Of the baby.
Idleness should reduce.
Ah.
But that doesn't happen.
So we all experience our, see, if you remember one of the first cornerstones that I had mentioned, a Jiva, a sentient being, is by experience indivisible. That experience of I-ness does not increase or decrease based on whatever we do, right? When we swallow our cells, there are so many other bodily changes that are happening. At all of those points, there is no increase or decrease of I-ness there, which means that it is a proof that it is indivisible. That means that Jiva by default is basically unitary. It is one homogeneous substance which cannot be created from something and which cannot be destroyed by separating or dissipating the constituents. With this experience, you have to say logically, it is imperative logically to accept that when amoeba splits also, another Jiva has come in over there. We find this thing accepting, another Jiva came in case of humans. Why? Why do you think it is easy to accept that another Jiva came in there?
Because their experience, again, as they told, related to the I-ness is the same. And once the child is born, we know that it also has its own.
My question is, why do you find it easy to accept that there is a Jiva in the child as against a Jiva in the amoeba? This was my personal question for myself, okay? For quite some time, I struggled with this thing in the initial days. On what basis did I accept that it is, for example, my son has a different Chetana than me? Or, has a Chetana. In fact, the question is this, okay? Let's say there is robo. In future, some days you are going to have many robos around you, right? Something is like washing your vessels, another robo is cleaning, washing your clothes and so on and so forth. Or the same robo is doing all of that. How do you know that robo does not have Chetana?
Because it doesn't have a an intellect or an experience of its own.
How do you know that?
Because it cannot think on its own.
How do you know that?
We know
It
that.
is we who have made it.
How do you know that?
We ordered it.
No, 1 minute. See this point, right? Somebody made it point is true even for humans. I made my daughter and son. Right? I am part of the thing. I made only, no? How is that different from a robot?
A robot can't think.
How do you know that?
No, like you didn't give me all my.
How do you know that?
It's like, did you and Amma sit and decide she has to have different?
No, let's say that Vishnu does that part. But it is still from me only, no? Question is this: can Chetana become Achetana and Achetana become Chetana? I'll tell you the reason for pointing this thing out, okay?
No, it cannot be changed because it is a svabhava. We cannot change the svabhava.
Question is, why not? Is the question. I mean, why you are saying it is Swabhava? I am contesting that it is Swabhava. I am
It
saying
is
it's
svabhava, means the inner that is why it is called Chetana.
question
It has
is,
icha,
how do you,
cheshta.
no, I know. See, for example, there are two types of attributes, right? One is a Swabhava, another one is Prabhava. Okay? Swabhava is natural, Prabhava is influenced. Or that is in terms of, if you look at the psychology thing, they say one is natural, another one is acquired. So when we look at the entire system of attributes and things like that, you have natural attributes and then you have acquired attributes. Okay? Agreed. You are saying Chetana is Chetanatva is a natural attribute. I am saying it is not a natural attribute, it is an acquired attribute. And therefore, a Chetana can become Achetana and Achetana can become Chetana. What will you say to say I am wrong? What is your argument against my tenet? I'll give you the reason for this, okay? Let me complete this one, okay? One small point. In Patanjali's Mahabhashya on Panini's Sutras, okay, he gives an example of, he is actually trying to say something else, okay? Yatha gomayad vrishchiko jayate. Okay? Vrishchika means scorpion. Gomaya means cow dung. So where the cow has dropped dead and given some other appropriate circumstances, after some time you will see a scorpion walking out of that. Okay? Yatha gomayad vrishchiko jayate. Therefore, Gomaya is Achetana. Vrishchika has two elements there. One which is the body, another one which is the Atma of that Vrishchika. That body is also Chetana, Achetana, Jada accepted. But where did that Chetana come from? Because it dropped that thing and then went off. So Gomaya Vrishchiko Jayate is a case where Achetana comes out of Achetana. Yeah, but why do you have to even add the word seemingly so?
The Chetana is only providing the grounds for
Yeah,
it to.
1 minute. Can I just stop? I'll tell you one small point. This example is used even by Shankaracharya to make similar points. Okay? In fact, in Advaita philosophy, Maya or whatever you call this thing is seen, the body of, in Vishishtadvaita at least, okay? The Parabrahman has three types of this one. What do you call? Prakara. Modes of Brahman. One which is Ishvara, which is separate, and one which is Jiva Prakara, and then one which is Prakriti Prakara, or Jada, or whatever you call that. And that modifies and then creates this world. So they see this world as his Sharira, this universe. Tribhuvana Vapusham, Vishnu Sahasranama, Parastuti, right? Tribhuvana Vapusham, Kshetram Kshetrajnam Evacha. All this universe is his body. They say that, okay? So which means that what? And this body has come from him only. Chetana became Achetana there. No? So that is how they all interpret. Yeah, now please tell me your answers as to why these two row boxes here are non-interchangeable, or why it is not an acquired attribute, why it is natural. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so after I'm born, like even now I can experience, like if I get hurt, it's not fundamentally changed. I mean, I'm still the same person after the pain goes and when I'm feeling that pain, right? So I know that this is different than who I am.
Okay. So,
Okay, so we know that this is different. So let's take the same thing in the case of spider. That jada thing, that web, it's coming from its body, which is also a jada. It's not coming from its chetana.
why do you say that? On what grounds are you saying it is not coming from its chetana? Shruti has told, the Veda is telling, Yatha Urnanabhi Srujate Grihnadecha. I'm telling, I'm trying to talk like Advaita. Yatha Urnanabhi, the way a spider spins out and then again consumes back. Just
See,
like
if we have a seed, we know that it has a potential to grow into a tree. But
Okay.
it will not grow into a tree when it's in a box. It has to be sowed in the soil
Okay.
and watered. So
Okay.
even though that soil and water and all are achetana, the chetana, that is the jiva, the tree is coming only because of those other.
You are all
environment-
giving me one minute. You are all giving me examples. Okay. Even my daughter here is giving me examples. My question is, examples do not prove a point.
No, even in that
Your
sentence,
question is
when-
on what basis, on what logical grounds are you saying it is not coming from that spider's thing or from the whatever example you gave, seeds jiva.
No, that sentence also does not say it's coming from its chetana.
Very good. Very good. That is the point
Yeah,
we make.
I eat food
That Shruti
does
line
not-
we will interpret in the right way. Okay. We will, it is just saying it is coming from that spider. It
Yeah,
didn't say it is
and-
coming from its spider's chetana. Agreed.
One
Let's
second,
keep-
even if I eat food, I don't become it. The spider is eating its own web. It does not become the web.
What is it? When you say it does not become,
The web.
no, what is the first it? Spider. How do you know that? Question is, how, on what basis are you saying sentient does not become insentient? The answer is what we had told in definition of sentient itself. The definition of sentient is, it is the feeling of I or whatever is there is indivisible. So which means it cannot be created, it cannot be destroyed. All matter, on the other hand, all jada is divisible and also subject to creation and destruction. Therefore, a chetana cannot become achetana and vice versa. There is a logical flaw there. It is like saying, the round one will become square while retaining its roundness, or the vice versa. It is not possible. It is a logical flaw there. So all these examples, whether it Gomaya Vrishchiko Jayate, or whether it is Yatha Urnanabi Srujate Grihnadecha, all of them have to be interpreted as relevant to those bodies. Same thing applies even to amoeba. With that said, let me go to my question. Otherwise, we will lose time. Okay. Is Swatantra, Chetana, Bhava and Nitya Mukta? The answer to that is yes. Question is then why is not put there? Come back to this question here. See, Vishnu, is he a Bhava Padartha? It is yes, because he is present, right? It exists. He exists. Is he a Chetana? Yes. He has that experience of I-ness. Aham Brahmasmi, he says that. Right? Is he Nitya Mukta? Is his Dukkha Asprushta? The answer is yes. So why don't you put him under Lakshmi here?
No, you're saying Paratam.
So that's all I wanted to. And important. So, okay, let's say I will start the ontology with saying what is, what do you call, Bhava and Abhava. Let's ditch this first line here and let's put Vishnu under along with Lakshmi. What is wrong in saying that? We will put Paratantra separately here. What I'm saying is, see this Paratantra, I will bring that distinction after Chetana. I will bring that classification after Chetana. When I do that, the problem is that such a chart will tell me that Vishnu does not have any control on Abhava or Achetana. So if I have to know that Vishnu controls everything, this is the best way to do it. And why should I know that Vishnu controls everything? Because it is one of the points which will lead us to moksha. Okay. With that said, let me go to the last question that was there. Can there be Anitya Chetana? So now I'll ask you other question. They say that, for example, when Kamsa got killed by Krishna, he merged into Krishna. Isn't that the case of Anitya Chetana?
No, he did
What
not.
about all those cases where people have experienced Sayujya? when they merge into the Lord.
No, no.
Aren't they becoming Anitya then?
They don't become the Lord, they just go into the
Why do you have to talk like that? Why do you have to even downgrade that interpretation? Why? Let's say they merged it. In fact, they show it in so many movies. One light is merging into a bigger light.
No, Vishnu Sahasranama says Muktanam Paramagati, no? Gati means Ashraya. That's what I've heard. So,
Son to that is, why do you have to take such secondary interpretations? When people say they merge, for example, Bhagavata says Kamsa or Shishupala, they merged into Krishna. One Deepa came from there and it merged into him. It is shown in so many movies also like that. There is a huge light and the smaller light went and merged in over there. So can there be Anitya Chetana is the question.
Then the Swabhava will be lost of the Chetana.
So that is, let it be lost. The scripture is telling you that it will be lost and Sayajya.
No, it won't be lost. Even in Mukti, the
No.
Swabhava will be retained.
On what basis are you saying this?
Destroyed.
if God he was always having this happiness always, why would he choose to become a Jiva, which is temporarily unhappy?
No. I'm not saying the Lord will become Jiva.
No,
I'm
no.
saying Jiva will merge into the Lord. And Jiva will lose its individuality. What is wrong in this statement?
Then there's nothing to go and merge on.
What do you mean nothing to go and merge?
If the Jiva is destroyed, then what,
Ah.
what exists there to go and merge into?
When he merges, he destroyed. The individuality is destroyed. The
Yeah,
conscious,
then-
1 minute.
then
I'll
you
tell
say-
you how Advaita says this. There is Chinmatra Aikya. Okay, Chinmatra Aikya. Okay, it is not really case of merging, to be very honest there also. But okay, let's ditch Chinmatra Aikya. So there is biggest fire over there, or light is there. Smaller light bends and merges over there. Okay. Same is the case with Jiva having Sayujya with Ishvara.
The I-ness is lost.
So let's accept that. What is wrong in that?
But then God's kindness is increasing, I would say, but that won't happen.
So God is avyaya. He does not have any vikara. He does not change. So God's I-ness is not increasing, no? And where is this interpretation coming from? That, he will merge and lose its individuality. That is coming, you had that whoever is saying this, they have to take recourse to Agama only. They have to say Agama, scripture is telling me, that's why I will believe in that. But scripture is also telling many other things, that they will not lose their individuality. And in fact, if you say that they lose their individuality, it is not a Purushartha, it is not something to aspire for. It is not a human goal. Purushartha means, see, the Shastra says a human life has these many goals. One of that is moksha. Why will anybody try to get a moksha where his individuality is lost? So this Yudhishthira says to Bhishma in one Shanti Parva, I think, okay? Magnasya hi pare ajnane kimnu dukkhataram bhavet. Can there be anything of greater sadness or pain than losing one's individuality? What a statement, right? So Yudhishthira says that. So Shastra is not only telling you that individuality will be retained, it is also telling you that losing individuality is a bad proposition. Okay, is not a goal. It will be a non-goal. It will be something to be avoided. People will avoid moksha if that was the case. That said, let's go to the next one. I hope this point was this one. Okay, now these are some verses that I took from Tattvasamkhyana so that you people need to understand, know what Acharya has said. Swatantram aswatantram chad vividam tattvamishyate swatantro bhagavan vishnuhu bhava bhavo didhetarat. Swatantra and aswatantra are the two types of tattvas, and swatantra is Bhagavan Vishnu. The other, that is itarat, is of two types, bhava and abhava. He ends this line, this work has like around 15 odd shlokas, 15 to 20, I don't remember the correct number, but it is a very short tract. Okay, this is called Prakarana Grantha, and in general people teach this thing whenever they whenever a new student is basically coming into Tattvavada. After doing Madhvacharya and some of these other works, they teach Tattvasamkhyana as the first this thing. So it is important then, because it will give you the whole this idea in one shot. And he ends it with saying, Srushtisthiti samhritischa niyamo jnana bodhane bandho moksha sukham dukham avritir jyotirevacha vishnunasya samastasya samasa vyasa yogataha. At the end of it, all the categories that we mentioned here, right? All of that, okay? They are all under Vishnu. And all their different facets, their different aspects, which is, they're getting created, they're retaining their sustenance, or they're getting destroyed. In case of Anitya Padartha, they're getting destroyed. Or in case of a Jiva, control, or even for Jada control being there, or Ajnana. For example, he has given us Ajnana, he has not given any new Ajnana right now. We have been having Ajnana for Anadikala. Okay. So that is also under his control. And to remove that, he gives knowledge also. And then bondage, and then moksha. So all these facets are happening due to Vishnu. Okay. And the whole idea of showing this ontology is to not only show that there are so many entities in this system, or it is not just to say that all of those are in Vishnu's control. Even their different activities associated with them are also under Vishnu's control. Okay, it is not just pot is under Vishnu's control. The pot coming into being and the pot vanishing later or not or breaking down, that is also under Vishnu's control. Me being there, my control on me or my ignorance, my knowledge, my bondage, and eventually my getting liberated, or whatever happiness and pain that I have, or whatever inability to see something and being able to see something, all of that is due to Vishnu. So if I'm able to see this laptop screen right now, it is because Vishnu is enabling me to see that. If I am not able to see what is behind that, it is because Vishnu is not allowing me to see that. That may happen, that may manifest as, because this laptop is opaque. But that opaqueness is also under Vishnu's control. Okay. Similarly, if there is Ghata Bhava here, it is under Vishnu's control. Okay. And if somebody keeps a Ghata, that Ghata Bhava becomes Pradhamsa. Then that is also under Vishnu's control. So his control is to the core, it is so fundamental. And we need to accept this thing and internalize this. That is the idea here. His other grantha called Tattvaviveka, it starts with this line here. Swatantram paratantram cha prameyam dvividham matam. Swatantro Bhagavan Vishnuho nirdosha akhila sadgunaha. So if you see the differences, he has called Paratantra instead of Aswatantra. I have written it wrongly there. It is not Swatantra, it is Aswatantra. Okay. There he called it as Aswatantram. Here Acharya says it is Paratantram. Both mean the same thing. There is no difference in the meaning. And instead of saying Tattvam, here he has used the word Tattvam here in Tattvasamkhyana. In Tattvaviveka, he uses the word Prameyam. He is to point out that Tattvam is always an object of Prameya and vice versa. If there is a real, it has to be an object of knowledge. And if it is an object of valid knowledge, then it is real. That is the meaning here. Okay. And Swatantro Bhagavan Vishnuhu Nirdosha Akhila Sadgunaha. He did not talk about the implication of being Swatantra here. But in Tattvaviveka, Acharya tells you Swatantra by default, by logical extension, it means Nirdosha Akhila Sadgunaha. Nirdosha, he is without any flaws, and he is Akhila Sadgunaha. He has all Sadgunas, all virtues in him. What are those virtues? So Acharya says this thing in Mahabharata Tatparya, whatever I have written at the bottom. Swatantratvat Sukha Sajnana Shakti Purvaihi Gunaihi Purnaha Yesho Akhilaischa. Okay? Swatantratvat Sarva Doshojhitascha Nissima Shaktirhi Yatas Swatantraha. Swatantratvat, because Swatantratva implies, okay, this is not a causation, this is correlation. Okay, this is implication. Swatantratva means infinite bliss. Okay, infinite Sajnana, which is Jnana means knowledge. Sajnana means incorruptible or valid knowledge. So his knowledge never has the possibility, even the logical possibility of being being mistaken, okay, or having a question which he doesn't know. Okay, so all these things are important because people don't understand these fundamental concepts. So if a Shruti tells you, if a Vedic statement is there where Vishnu will come and tell, oh, Koham, who am I? They will interpret that as he is subject to ignorance. Okay. If another Shruti says, you know what, he rested after creating the worlds. Okay. They will take that he actually, it shows a flaw in him. There is a limit in his strength. They will, if the Shruti tells you that, you know what, you got the point, right? They basically look at some of those things and they interpret those things literally without keeping this fundamental principle at heart, which is that if he is Swatantra, he cannot really be having any dosha in him. And Swatantratva sarva doshojjitasta. And it implies, because when I am Swatantra, there is nothing that stops me from getting infinite Ananda. It's not like there is some time when it has happened before which I was not infinite Ananda. If I am Swatantra, I will have infinite Ananda. Because there is no block. And any block is not enough for me. Because I am Swatantra, I can control that also. I can control all blocks. Okay. So with that, I wanted to talk about an extra thing that Acharya tells in Tattvaviveka. Okay. How much time do we have? Oh,
And then there's a question by Hitesh Hari.
I will come to that thing. I think we will talk about the Vishesha part in the next session only. So this will take a little more time. I will need to show some diagram and then I will explain this one. It is an interesting one. So let's do this thing in the next. Someone has raised their hand. So let's look at the chat messages now. Oh, why can't I see the chat messages? But where is chat in this? Oh my God, there are so many questions. Somebody has raised their hand. Who has raised their hand?
Yeah. So
Go ahead.
by this, can we conclude that we don't have a free will? That means you wanting to eat Pani Puri on an Ekadashi is also instigated by Vishnu.
There are two parts to that thing. Okay. One is the desire to eat Pani Puri or whatever it is. Where did that desire? Who holds that desire is a question. Is it Jiva or Vishnu? Where does that desire reside? Whose part is that desire? Can you tell me?
Jiva.
That is Jiva. Who is bringing out that desire?
That is God.
That is Vishnu. So does that answer your question?
Okay.
So the desire belongs to the Jiva.
Okay.
Okay. Vishnu is like the electricity that brings out light in all the bulbs. So the same thing applies to desires also. The same thing applies to our prayatna also. I'll say from now on, I will not eat anything on Ekadashi. That prayatna is what we have to do. That prayatna, all sadhana is in the form of that prayatna only. Right? And that prayatna is also in his control. Okay? Yeah. Go ahead. Next. What is the next question? How is Indriya Anitya too? Why is Indriya not Anitya? Because when somebody dies, their Indriya will lose some part and some part will go with them to moksha, along with them. And in moksha, it is anyway not there. Therefore, it is Indriya is Anitya. These eyes or whatever it is not there with the Jiva there. Therefore, it is Anitya. Any special meaning for the word Tanmatra? That is a good question. I do not know the answer to that one, Sridevi. Okay, I also have that question actually, I do not know the answer. There was one answer provided in Bhagavata Tatparya. Okay, I have forgotten that one. I will get back to you on this. Okay. The other, what is it? Maybe because everything is superimposed. I did not understand when that was asked.
When you asked why everything should be, why everything cannot be considered as.
Why can't there be? Why can't we say that there is no tattva at all? Then she's saying why? Maybe because everything is superimposed. But how do you know that everything is superimposed? So you need to have a pramana for saying that also, no? And is that pramana also superimposed or not superimposed? This is the first question that Acharya says, right? There is a question, there is a Shruti called Nehana Nasti Kinchana. Some schools of thought, they say there is no multiplicity here, which means that there is nothing real here. That's what, except Brahman, there is only one real. Any forms of multiplicity, any multitude of reals is unreal. That's what they treat it as. So Tadvakyasya agrato mithyatvam Tadvakyasya agrato bhavet. Acharya says that. If you say that, that sentence itself is the first thing to become false. By its own accord, by its own admission, it's like the liar's paradox, who says, I am false. Whatever I say is false. What may be the truth value of that thing is a different thing, but at least you will not consider that liar as trustworthy. So people, so have you guys heard about liar's paradox? Okay, liar's paradox is this. There is a person who says, all that I tell is a lie. Every statement from me is a lie. Now the question is, if you take this statement to be true, by its own admission, that statement is not true then. Because not everything that he's saying is a lie. This statement is an exception to that. But if you say it is false, then it means that there should be some other statement which is, which means that all that he says is a lie then. Then it becomes false. So therefore, you will not be able to determine a truth value of this statement. The question is, similarly, if the Shruti tells you, all of this is false, it also becomes false then. So what is its truth value? So they try to create an order of reality kind of thing, and then they try to solve it. But we say that that order, Vyavaharika, Paramarthika, and all those things is baseless. And we also basically say that, Tadvakyasya, Mithyatvam Tadvakyasya agrato bhavet. First, that sentence itself becomes false. It is unreliable. Therefore, you cannot use that kind of Shruti to prove the unreality of the world. It is like, me relying on a liar, or me relying on the sentence of a Vandhya Putra, basically a barren woman's son, or a child. Barren woman by default is not, the barren woman's child is not there. It's an asat padartha. It is not there. It is non-existent. That guy's words, obviously not there. But I will believe that those words. Is it even plausible? Is it even logically consistent? It is not. Similarly, this sentence, all of this is false, or all of the multiplicity is false. That sentence is coming from a false, is coming from a non-existent sentence. It is coming from same thing like a non-existent Vandhyaputra. So just like you do not rely on the Vandhyaputra's words and you discard them, you also discard this non-existent Shruti's words as a pramana. Therefore, any Shruti that says this world is unreal, by its own admission, it discards its own reality, and therefore it ceases to be a pramana. Okay? So therefore, you cannot say that Shruti or Agama is telling you everything is unreal. And there is no other pramana which tells you that all of this is superimposed and things like that. Therefore, you have to say there is no pramana which says all of this is not tattva. And on the other hand, you have pramana which says this is tattva. Therefore, there is pramana badha also. I hope. Therefore, this thing is. What is the difference between Datta Swatantriya of Ramanuja Siddhanta and the one seen in Tattvavada? I'm not too sure of this. Okay, the Tattvavada Siddhanta is very clear. the true meaning of Datta Swatantra is the Lord has kept the form, his own form there in that Jiva, and then he is enabling to do some action. So if he has kept 2 forms in one Jiva and 54 forms in Vayu, it means that there is more manifestation or more Vasha happening over there. Yadyapi, I mean, though every form of Lord is infinite in both space, time, qualities, everything. The forms of Lord are not different from each other. Yet 2 forms versus 54 forms. What it means is there's so many forms will show their, will manifest their presence or activity there. All the other forms will not present, manifest their activity there. So that is the difference. And so that is the Datta Swatantra in Tattvavada. On the other hand, Ramanuja's this thing, I don't think is Datta Swatantra or anything like that. They accept that the Jivas have a choice to make, and that choice is exhibited or exercised by the Jiva is what they claim. I'm not too sure if, at least the first one they say, the Jiva does that independent of God. The God gives them the power and he then watches like this, okay, like a silent observer, like a teacher. Okay, he will observe them and then they will make the change. We say that there is no point when the Lord is inactive and the Jiva is active. That is a logical fallacy. Okay. Then there is no free will for Jivas. Oh, okay. So what I was trying to tell is, free will is a concept which needs more thought. What does free mean, right? I mean, that is to answer your previous question also. So free means, I mean, what people mean by that is without any external influence. Okay. If that is what you mean by free, okay, it is there for us. Okay. Whatever I feel like eating Pani Puri on Ekadashi day, if that is my will, it is mine only. It is not superimposed by God. It is not, that will is not pushed by God on me. That will is there inside me and it just gets manifested by him. That is the difference. Therefore, I have free will. But if you say free will means free of God, then such will is not there. Every will also needs God for it to come out. Okay. Okay. Let's go to this one. So both bhava and abhava exist in parallel. The answer is yes. There is no samsarga bhava in Tattvavada. Samsarga abhava, you mean. We put samsarga abhava as one of the 3 things that we mentioned. For example, there is a pot. I'll tell you, let me explain what samsarga abhava means. Samsarga means contact. Okay. Bhutale ghato asti. If there is bhutalam, there is earth. There is a pot and there is earth. So there is contact. What is the nature of this contact? Okay. And later, let's say I pull out the pot from there. So that contact is lost. Okay. So these people try to create a 4th type of samsarga abhava. The logical school, the Nyaya school, they say this is different type. Or they call that as samsarga abhava. Lack of contact, absence of contact. They try to distinguish between that and the other 3 types. Praga bhava, pradhamsa bhava, and all those things. We do not do that distinction. Okay. How does
For us, it is just
it is another bhava padartha only. Samsarga is like another bhava padartha only, right? So you either create it or it is lost. That's all. Okay. How does Tattvavada answer? What is it? Charvaka's argument of Dehatmavada or Bhuta Chaitanyavada. So I think if you remember the first session that we had, this is one of the cornerstones of Tattvavada philosophy. That how Deha is not same as Atma. We experience, I will try to show you that thing. Give me a minute. I will share my screen again and try to take you to that. I was trying to type one translation of Tattvasamkhyana. Okay. So what you see on the screen is that. One day when I am done with it, I will pass it on to you. Oh, this is another session that I was having. I'm trying to recollect where my slides were. Okay, just give me a minute, please. There it is. I'm not able to exit from here. How do I?
First, figure.
Okay. Okay, there you go. We had covered this thing in the session 7 and 8. Okay. Yeah. These are the facts that Dehatmavada cannot explain. The experience of I-ness. Okay. Unchanging experiencer despite a changing body. Experience of I as different from the body in general in judgments like my body. Mama dehaha, when I say that, it is very clear that I am different from that body. Okay. And consciousness being present in Sushupti. If you see Gita Bhashya's 2.11, Acharya first does this only. He basically, 2.12 onwards, he basically shows how Deha is different from Jiva. And therefore, Arjuna's, in fact, the Lord himself proves this thing. What is that thing? Yatha, Kaumara another Shloka. Dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yavvanam jara tatha dehantara praptihi dhiras tatrana mukyate. In this shloka, Paramatma himself is telling Dehin is different from these different states of the body, which is changing. So, which means that Dehin has to be different. You cannot attribute that unchanging experience to any other part of the body, be it 5 pranas or be it the manas or any of those things, because all of them are also undergoing change and all of them are seen as tools which this particular experiencer uses to carry out certain tasks. Therefore, this experiencer is different from the other tools like manas and all these things. So this is the point which he tells in Gita Bhashya. In Anuvyakhyana, he tells very clearly, the Mama Deha is there even for Avipala Gopala, even for goathead, shepherds, everything, right? Even for people who are not into Shastra, they have this very innate experience of their body being different from themselves. There may be some points when there is confusion, no doubt, but largely, in general, people experience themselves to be different. Therefore, this experiencer who is experiencing everything is different. And the most important thing is this experiencer is self-reflective. Ahamiti yo vedya. That is the point he makes in Vishnu Tattva Nirnaya. So using these things, you can safely rule out or discard Dehatmavada and or Deha Chaitanyavada or all those things. And yeah, so this is what we had covered then. Let's go back to your chat now and go to the next question. When AI technology develops far enough, then Achetana can become Chetana. So then see the problem right now also. I work in AI myself. The point is that it cannot. In fact, there is not just me who is saying that. There is a guy called Peter Norvig, I think. Okay, he used to be the guy who used to be a chief scientist or whatever at Google at one point of time. He has written a book on this. He also accepts that in fact, their problem is how do you define consciousness? Okay. For us, it is very clear. Ahamityo vidyo vedya. For us, in fact, when you go to the next level of courses in Madhva Vedanta, you will realize, or you will have good discussion on what is the capability of this Sakshi. And that Sakshi will be able to tell you that this is a robo and this is not a robo. You may fail the Turing test. Okay, the Turing test may be passed. Do you know what is Turing test? Turing test is basically, let's say there is a screen. On the other side, there is somebody who is responding to your questions. Okay, you are asking questions from this, and there is a screen in the middle, and somebody is answering from there. If that is a person or if that is an algorithm, computer program, if you are not able to distinguish, then it means the Turing, then the machine has become Turing. This thing. That's what they say. Right now, the limit is 9 hours. You can have discussion of 9 hours without a person letting know that the other one is an algorithm. But after 9 hours, people have made out that this is a machine. This is even for the best algorithms out there. Let's say it becomes 100 hours also. Okay. But if the moment I remove the screen, let's say there is a very natural looking robo also. There is something like that is called Sophia, which was released in South Africa or someplace like that, South Africa or something. Yeah. So let's say all of those things happen. They still look non-human, but let's say they look like human also. Still, you will be able to make out because your Sakshi will help you there. That is the claim that is made in Tattvavada. It will take time for us to get there, to understand what is told in Tattvavada and how that is correct or not correct. But let's wait till then. Okay. Yeah. Westward series. Sir? Westward series. Westward series. No, nobody heard. Now I am culprit of wasting a lot of time here. That's why. Let me quickly go here. There is no manas in achetana. Okay, that is good. Swan milk water example. I did not understand what that is meant for. When there are so many similarities in attributes between Jiva and Bhagavan, like Satyatva, Nityatva, Chetanatva, why can't they be equated? Because from a class wise and from attribute, there are so many other dissimilarities also. No? Okay, that is one thing. In Tattvavada, there seems to be no difference between substance and its attribute. We'll have to wait till the next class to handle that question. We will talk about Savishesha Bheda. In fact, it was told yesterday by Srinidhi. I think some of you guys missed it then. He already talked about this. Then he's basically saying, is there a possibility that maybe Acharya wanted to use Abhava, negative kind of description with the usage of Aswatantra and Bhava? No, he is nothing like that. Bhava, Abhava are different from Swatantra and Aswatantra. And it's not just in these two works. Everywhere else also he clearly distinguishes between an absence and being Aswatantra. For us, even an absence is Aswatantra. Every Bhava is also Aswatantra except Vishnu. Okay. Is Dukkha Sprushtatva part of Jiva Swabhava? This is a very important point. Is it a natural thing or is it an acquired thing is the question here. Being subject to pain. Is it, let's, for every Jiva other than Vishnu, every Chetana other than Vishnu and Lakshmi, is it natural or is it an acquired thing? So Acharya says, Pramadat Bandhasya. Okay. So it is an acquired thing. It is not natural for the Mukti Yogya Jivas. But the only thing is, it is not acquired at some beginning time. From Anadi Kala, it has been there. But it is still, it is not natural. It is separable. And that's what happens in Moksha. So therefore, it is not what you call truly Jiva Svabhava, but that helps in understanding and creating a classification around this. Okay.
That is only for Mukti Yogya.
Sorry, what's that?
That is only for Mukti Yogyas. This Dukkha and things that.
That is only for connect.
Okay.
For the others, it is their internal that
innate
like
nature.
That. Correct. Okay. All right. We will talk next week. And sorry for extending your time by half an hour plus. See you next week. Aksharo Yojara Sarvadaivaamrutah Kukshigam Yasya Vishwam Sadajadikam Prinayamo Vasudevam Devata Mandala Khandamandalam Madhvesha Krishnarpnamast.
Dhanyavada.
Dhanyavada. Thank you.